Hello, what we're going to be doing in this video is we're going to be walking through the guided project Apple Pie. So what we want to do in this project is to write a game called Apple Pie. It's a simple word guessing game. Each player has a limited number of turns to guess the letters in the word. Each incorrect guess results in an apple falling off the tree. The player wins by guessing the word correctly before all the apples are gone. So let me go ahead and create a new Xcode project. It'll be a single view and it will be called Apple Pie. I will go ahead, click on the create button, and then the first thing we need to do is we need to change our device to an iPad. So I will go ahead and update that to an iPad. So the tree image and our buttons and labels are all going to appear in various stack views. So the first thing I need to do is I need to go ahead and add a vertical stack view to my main storyboard that will take up the whole screen. And what we need to do, I need to go down below and change the view into an iPad since we'll be designing for an iPad, and then I will go ahead and change the size and the orientation. So the orientation is landscape instead of portrait. So I'll click on my object library. We want to add a vertical stack view to our storyboard, and then what I'm going to do is this vertical stack view should take up the entire screen. So I need to go ahead and set some constraints. So in order to set though, I'll set each one of the constraints to 0. So you can just click on 0 and then tap over 4 times to make sure you've added 4 constraints. They all should be set to 0. So I will go ahead and click on that. So the next thing we need to do is we need to go in and add image view that will contain our tree images. So let me just go ahead and search for an image view, type it in correctly. I'll go ahead and drop that image view in. And then if we go back to the image view, we want to make sure the content mode is set to aspect fit. This will ensure the width and height of the image is not distorted by the proportions of the image view. So the next thing we need to do is we need to add the various tree images to our assets folder. So they are available on Canvas. I've already downloaded the zip file and unzipped it. So I will just go ahead, select the images, drop them onto the canvas. I will go back into my main storyboard. And then expand it, and what we want to do then is we want to make sure our image view is selected, and then within our image you can go ahead and select the tree. And the one thing so what we have there is we have our tree image selected, so it's the one with the 7 apples. So that'll help guide us through as we add the rest of the information to our storyboard. So the button grid is a bit more complex. The buttons are arranged in a set of rows and columns. You can imagine each row as its own vertical stack view, and each column is a horizontal stack view within the vertical stack. It's 5 horizontal stack views are within 1 vertical stack view. So what we need to do, the first thing we need is to add that vertical stack view. So I will go ahead and add that into my stack, and it falls below my tree image. So the first thing I want to do is we want to give the newly added stack view a height of 220. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to go ahead and add that constraint, a height of 220. And click on add one constraint. So now I've constrained that individual vertical stack view to a size of 220. The rest of the buttons are going to, the buttons will add in that. So each of the horizontal stack views will be equal in size. So what we need to do is we need to make sure we have our vertical stack view selected, and then we want our distribution to be filled equally. So each one of those horizontal stack views will fill equally within our vertical stack view. So now what we need to do is we need to add a horizontal stack view within the vertical stack. So let me go ahead and search for horizontal. And I will go ahead and drop that horizontal. So now we have our main vertical stack view. We have our secondary stack view, vertical stack view that's going to hold all of our buttons. And then we have our first horizontal stack view that will hold the first row of our buttons. So I've added that. So what I need to do is I need to go ahead and change the distribution property to fill equally. So in the interface, there are going to be 5 buttons per row except for the last row, which is 6. So what I need to do is I need to go in and add my first button to that horizontal stack view. So I will go ahead and drop that in. So it should be underneath right there. So after I've done that, I will add 4 additional buttons. So I will just go ahead and do a Command C while that button is selected in my document viewer, and then hit Control V 4 times. Okay, so the next thing we need to do is we need to go ahead and update our labels. So the first button needs to be a capital A, and then the second button needs to be a capital B, third button capital C, the fourth button a capital D, and the fifth button a capital E. Okay, so we've added our first horizontal rows of buttons. So what we need to do next is we need to go ahead and add the rest of our buttons. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to go ahead and select that horizontal stack view that has the buttons A through E. I'll do a Command C and then a Command V 4 times to add additional rows. So I've added those in, and then what we need to do in our last row, so I'm going to select that last stack view. We need to go ahead and add another button to it. So I will just drop a button over to the right of it. So now we have that extra button, and now the next exercise is to update all the labels to their corresponding letters. So I'm going to go ahead and pause the video and do that, and then the next thing we need to do is add a couple of labels.